Hello and welcome into the Knicks-Verse pregame show with my special guest, Lee Escobedo. What's happening, brother?
What's up, Ramo? Glad to be talking some Knicks with you today, man. This is my favorite matchup possible. It's when we play the Miami Heat. As long as there's no injuries, I always love the bloodbath.
Yeah. The injuries are always a concern, but this is always an intense matchup, no matter what the standings are, but the standings matter today. The Miami Heat are trying to get that 6th seed, and if we end up with the 3rd seed, that means we end up playing them in the playoffs in the first round, which could be tremendous. So we're going to talk about that. We're going to talk about whatever updates we have on injuries, and we're going to preview the game itself, and we're going to talk about Jalen Brunson and the special season he's been having, and some of the other guys who are also having actually career years for themselves as well. First, before we get going, I want to shout out to everybody who's watching this. Thank you for joining us. Again, if you haven't subscribed to the channel yet, please do so, along with turning on the notification bell so you're alerted when we go live or drop a new video. And don't forget to follow Lee on Twitter and check out his articles. He's a fantastic sports writer, and he also is a regular on the KOT, the Nick of Time show, on the postgame shows, which I catch every one of them. My favorite, one of my 2 favorite post-game shows other than my own. We have, it's Tuesday, 6:43, April 2nd. The New York Knicks once again are missing technically their starting front line again. There has been some recent updates about the injuries and what they mean. Actually, today, yesterday, I put out a video talking specifically about the OG Anunoby injury. But there have been some other updates. He's now being listed as he has what was it again? Elbow tendinopathy, which is similar to the Achilles tendinopathy that Mr. Hartenstein has, similar only in respect that it comes from fatigue and overuse. Technically, it's called tennis elbow. Now, I have a question. How the fuck does this guy get tennis elbow? Athletes aren't supposed to get tennis elbow. I mean, basketball athletes aren't. So I don't know how that happened. Again, feels a little bit sus to me. That type of diagnosis after we've been asking, wondering, why is he out? What is it? Inflammation in the elbow. Okay, but why? He had surgery. He rehabilitated. So why? It's not like he had a hard collision or had a hard fall on the elbow. You could see, oh no, maybe aggravated. No, it's just in the flow of the game. So why is he out? Why is he in such pain? Why did it get inflamed? And why have they changed the diagnosis? So we'll be talking about that. But if you want to have anything to add about that at the moment, Lee?
I'll read you a headline from late last year on a Bleacher Report. Raptors OG Anunoby out versus Wizards. Suffered finger injury doing household chores. It's funny. The last podcast, KOT postgame after the OKC, was the first time that I voiced my very real and very intense concerns around OG's health now and moving forward. I don't think that this elbow issue is going to be a lingering or sustained one come into next year, but I am worried about his health and his durability overall, especially in a contract season when we're about to give him a bad, whether it's the bad he's looking for or one in between, I'm not sure, but I'm very worried about overpaying him or overextending him in years based on what we've seen just in this small sample size since he's joined the Knicks.
Yeah, that's going to be an issue. We're going to talk about that. It was someone, I think on the Athletic staff, was asked what they thought OG could command, and they threw out 4 for 150.
Yeah, that was Tim Cato. He's the Athletic. He covers the Dallas Mavericks for the Athletic. I didn't pay that one no mind because he has zero sources within the Knicks organization. Who does, really, right? I mean, they're pretty tight-lipped, but certainly not a pasty bum from Dallas doesn't have any insight that you and I don't either. So I wasn't really worried about that being a realistic number. But I think because Leon Rose's son is his agent, I'm not really worried about the price. I think the price is going to be affordable. I think it'll be team friendly. Hopefully there's a team option on that last year and descending. But it's more about, is this someone that we should commit to long-term and for how many years?
Yeah, I heard that as well. I tell you, he was having might even have to go higher than 150, maybe 160. That's 40 million per. That's a lot of money for OG. But you never know. I mean, if he stayed healthy, I wouldn't necessarily even have an issue with it. It's his inability to stay healthy and be on the court. That's really the issue. Steve Larson just posted this. I'll just throw it up here because that is a 4 for 150, too rich for a much injured guy, but we need him. See, that's the situation that we're in. And you're right about the agent. It is Leon Rose's son. So I do think it'll probably be, you never know. They could work some deal out, get a slight discount, and maybe the fourth year is a player option. You never know. But I do think we're going to get a little bit of a discount. I think you're right about that.
I think we're probably not going to end up with a significant discount. I think it was already agreed upon between father and son, what that estimation would be. I don't think Leon would have given up a guy that he felt like he was going to overpay in IQ if he was going to be getting back another guy that he felt like he might have to overpay. I think that the number is already agreed upon, maybe plus or minus 2 million, 2.5 million. I just hope it's under 30 and closer to 25 per year with incentive based, where you can depending on hitting thresholds for games.
It could have a bit of a, I don't want to use Zion as an example, not that he has any weight issues, but in terms of being, available to play, like you might get a bump if he plays 60 games, if he plays 70 games, he gets another bump, makes all NBA. If he does, they'll load the contract up that way. So there are achievable incentives for him, but also can protect the Knicks in case, he misses half a season.
And let me tell you what else it protects him against. His sensitivity. There have been murmurs and rumors, don't know how valid they are, that he is someone who does not like playing through pain, that he's someone who has a very low threshold for pain. And honestly,
that's something that I've heard from someone who heard.
Yeah. And there's been reports. I think Bleacher Report was the first one to aggregate that as well. Now, as a Knicks fan and as a fan of a team that Tom Thibodeau coaches, I can't imagine that type of mindset and personality would mesh well with this current team and how they're constructed. And I'm worried about him, or not. That removes my worry if he's like, this paper cut that I have on my hand or this minor laceration, I need to sit out a game. Well, if you had those incentives, we have to play a certain threshold that eliminates how many of those sit days you can use because you're low threshold for pain.
Yeah. And maybe they'll do it where if he plays, let's say in the first 2 seasons of the contract, if he plays X amount of games, then that fourth year, that becomes a player option if he wants at a nice balloon payment. If you know what I mean, like, so there's creative ways to set up the contracts. Obviously, Dolan is loaded. He could go, into the first apron easily without costing him much. So it's going to be a tricky situation because the fans are definitely not happy about OG missing games, about OG, quote, getting re-injured. And legitimately so. We have a right to be not happy about that, especially in a contract year, especially when technically, I mean, we could be using, IQ hasn't played for personal reasons or whatever, but he is available to play tonight. And so is RJ. I hope RJ does well for him, for his brother. But IQ would be great right now for this run. So we gave him up, which is fine, but we need OG back, especially to have as deep a playoff run as possible. Right now, I want to take a moment to shout out the chat. Lex the Destroyer, thanks for joining us, brother. The best mod around. Yes, smash that like button for us. Appreciate that. Los, good to see you, brother. Los, first time catching the live show. Awesome. Great to have you here. Wiz BKLA, what's up, brother? I hope to see you on Saturday. I mean, on Sunday. Ooh, I always mess up on Sunday, having a watch party in Los Angeles at the Greyhound, as you can see down here. We'll have a big more info about it, but it'll be this Saturday. It's going to be the Bucks game. It could have tremendous implications for the postseason and seeding. It should be a lot of fun. It's going to be a good time, good vibe. And I wish Mr. Lee was in town.
Me too, man. I would love to join.
That would be great. It would be awesome. All right. Shout out to Steve Larson, Anna Grill 1, and Lex the Destroyer, Los. Who else has joined us here? That's where we're at the moment. And JD Sports Talk. What's up? Listening in the car. What's up, JD? We got Ruben in the house. Thank you, brother. All right. Let's. Is there anything you would like to touch on before we get into our quote semi-structured show?
No, I think that the OG position, small forward, if Leon was to upgrade any position on the roster, I do believe it would be the 3. I think that we've committed and we're going to continue to commit to Julius Randle and Brunson at the 1 to 4, as any intelligent franchise would. I think Dante DiVincenzo has flashed all-star potential, playing this Villanova vacuum with 3 guys that he very much is familiar with. And I think Mitchell Robinson, Isaiah Hartenstein is a center combo for the future. I do believe that Leon would go perhaps into that first apron to retain both of them, Precious and OG. But that 3, the 3 is where you need both unilateral defense 1 through 5, a position like a guy like OG, as well as someone who can hit.
But there's few guys like that. That's why we're lucky. They could go 1 through 5. That's a dream scenario.
Yes, 1 through 5, maybe 1 through 4 or 3.
Even Macau, struggles to guard 5s.
We got very lucky with how smart and how talented OG is as a defender, and then equally unlucky with how injured he is as well, as we don't get to enjoy that level of defense at the same time. But I do think there are other guys that we could upgrade that, either if it's more of a lateral or a slight drop off in someone like Herb Jones, or if we decide to push all of our chips in the middle of the table and just give Brooklyn basically whatever they're asking for in terms of draft asset wise for Mikal Bridges. Both of those are moves I'm down for, or maybe if there's a Kawhi opt out and he becomes a target. I'm not really thinking about trades at this point in the season anyways, but I'm just saying, forewarning, I think the small forward position is the one that still can be upgraded this summer and beyond.
So you're saying if we don't re-sign OG, or in addition to re-signing OG, or
in addition to, I don't definitely not going to let him walk for nothing, especially when Leon Rose's son is his agent. There's absolutely no way it's going to happen. But
so you're talking about like for the bench help?
Yes, or parlayed into a trade, maybe a OG might be the piece that's ended up upgraded. I think positions are the ones that are solidified for that 3 to 4 year window. But
it would have to be a special defender as well as an offensive weapon,
or just a really knockdown shooter too, or someone who can trade off the ball and be the second option over Randall in that pecking order too. To me, Bridges fits that characterization, and I like Herb Jones as an alternative for OG as well.
Mikal, here, Los asked us a question in regards to Mikal Bridges. George, what's the chances for next Mikal Bridges? For the Nets, Mikal Bridges. For the Knicks, Mikal Bridges. Would you give the Nets 3 picks and Burks and Biggie?
Hell
question mark. Oh yeah, in a nanosecond. I think it would probably cost. I think the Knicks would have to pay a premium in picks to be able to get him away from the Nets and to outbid everybody else. I think the Knicks would have to give as many as 5 first-round picks if it's the Nets, just because of that dynamic. Is that fair market value? No. 4 should be enough, but the Knicks may have to kick up to 5. And it also depends on, Mikal, I'm sure is not one that's going to whine and complain and make a scene or anything like that. So it would just have to come out of being a basketball and business decision for the Nets to do that. As much as I would love him on this team, as I would put him as the 2 guard, honestly. I'd put him as the 2 and have Dante come off the bench as just a flamethrower, and have OG, Randall, and Mikal Bridges. That would be a fantastic, and then Brunson, and then Mitch or Hartenstein. But I would imagine Mitch would probably be the one that goes out in that trade, or never know. Could be Isaiah Hartenstein. We don't know. It'd be hard to know. But Isaiah's he's an unrestricted free agent. So there's a lot of uncertainty in this offseason. We're going to have a lot of shows here as we move forward. After June, after the Knicks win the NBA championship, we'll have some shows talking about what the Knicks should do in the offseason to repeat the championship.
Love that.
Or whatever they end up doing. If they go to if we get to the Eastern if we get past the second round, it'll feel like we won the championship. That's right. Yeah, 5. I know it's too much, Los. I know, but you're asking me. I think because of the dynamic between the Nets and Knicks, they don't make trades very often. In fact, I think the last time was like over 25 years ago or something, right? You would know better than me on that.
I also think that those 5 picks wouldn't necessarily be 5 unprotected Knicks picks.
Yeah, they would. Yeah.
It would be a combination of some of the lottery protected ones we already hold, like Milwaukee or Detroit or Washington, or even Dallas, if it was done this summer, or like 3 unprotected 2 swaps. It could be something to that degree as well.
It could be.
that's probably one I would go all in on. I think he's someone I would overpay for just because of the familiarity. You don't have to worry about any type of like period of adjustment because he already has so much nuance with Josh Hart and DiVincenzo and Brunson from the Villanova days. And I think that he would acclimate to Tom Thibodeau's defensive requests as well.
I agree. It would be a tremendous addition to this team. I think he would instantly make us a championship contender. If we didn't give up one of the other big three, OG, Randall, and now I got worse again. It was looking better before.
I still see that flash going on. I was trying to.
Now one little one is fine. Now we got a bunch here. But before we move on, definitely I want to shout out the chat again. We got Sandman in the house. He says, George, this coming draft is a draft of a big man. Klingman, Edey are realistic targets for Knicks. Who would be better? Who would be way better than Mitch and Isaiah? I believe that's a statement, not a question. So he believes that Klingman or Edey would be way better than Mitch and Isaiah. I don't. I don't think so personally. Klingman, where he may have some good touch or whatever, he's nowhere near the athlete that either Mitch or Isaiah are. And Edey, there's even questions if he could even defend at all in any way in the NBA. I haven't scouted them enough to have a real opinion, but I do know what it is that we actually have. And we have probably the best duo in the center position in the entire NBA.
Yeah.
So it'd be hard to top that. But in case, let's say we don't work out a deal with Isaiah, he wants to wait, someone comes in and bombs him and offers him $22 million per year. We just don't, Leon just doesn't see how he can hold on to him. If there's an opening, a Klingman could be an interesting addition. He could be interesting. So in that respect, and he can grow into his role. But Edey, he's 7'4", big guy. But can you imagine him playing against Wemby? it would be an embarrassment. It would be an embarrassment. Wemby would just exhaust the guy. He'd have him chasing him all over the place. He would look lost out on that court, and rightly so. We're talking about a generational talent, but we have a lot of tremendous centers in this league right now. I don't think Edey can keep up with them, but maybe he could prove us wrong. That's just my feeling at the moment. Mitch, love him, but again, injury concerns. The injuries.
I do take a bit of umbrage with anyone saying that, and I know Sandman, he's regularly in the chat of a KOT show with some out-of-pocket takes from time to time. I take umbrage with anyone saying that a player in the college right now is way better than Ihart or Mitch. Ihart and Mitch are two of the literal, by definition, best defensive centers in the NBA.
Yeah.
Mitch was a defensive player of the year candidate before he went down. I think he'll be right back to that next year. Ihart is also a defensive player of the year candidate as of right now. These two guys are guys who deserve their contract and maybe more. I don't think there's a college player right now that you can actually say, without being hyperbolic, is much better than those two.
Yeah, it definitely defensively, no way. I mean, let's say we got Wemby, Gobert, just to throw him in, Anthony Davis when he wants to play center and defense. Who else? Who else is better than Isaiah and Mitch? Defense. We're talking about defensively,
right? And I would even say that it's not super wide between the three you named and Ihart and Mitch either.
No. Now Jokic and Embiid are very good defensive players, but they carry such a tremendous offensive load. They can't put as much into their defense as our two guys can. Actually they lack the verticality that our two guys have. It's but right there, just look what we've talked about. 3 MVP guys,
right.
The future owner of the league, and then our guys. So that's the bar. So to supersede, so it's going to be tough. That's the one thing. It is a concern about in the offseason with Isaiah, him having the freedom to just walk.
I also disagree with Sandman's opinion in the chat that all Mitch brings offensively is lobs. I think in terms of running a play, That's the majority of how you find him off of the pick and roll. But he's also the best offensive rebounder in NBA. That has to be included when you're having a dialogue around him, because that won us the Cleveland series almost single-handedly, was his dominance on the offensive boards against bum-ass Jared Allen and Evan Mobley. Like he destroyed them. He took their single biggest asset away from them.
Many of us believe that Mitch was the key factor in defeating the Cleveland Cavaliers last season.
He was. I agree with that.
Yeah. All right, let's move on to the man. Today, it was announced that Mr. Brunson is the East Player of the Month. Fantastic. He totally deserves it. Let's get into talking about this. Here he is, Mr. Jalen Brunson, who's been doing miraculous things. In March, he averaged 28.8 points per game, basically 29 points per game, almost 3 rebounds per game, and almost 6 assists per game. And he did it without his all-star forward and without his all-defensive small forward, OG. OG only played 3 of those games. This is a much-deserved recognition for him. And finally, people are waking up, and people are waking up to the reality of what Jalen Brunson is. I haven't talked about the Becky Hammon comments and the other comments that people have made because I really felt there was no need in reality. But I'm going to talk about it now. What I'm going to say is what she meant to say and what she actually did say is correct in general. In general, it is. The problem is every once in a while, a guy comes along and debunks all of that bullshit. This guy is unstoppable. Unstoppable. It took Wembanyama 40 points and some crazy 3-point shots to defeat this guy in overtime. After the Knicks went down 21 points, 22 points, he delivered 61 points in that game. And probably could have had even more. He missed a few that I couldn't believe. Especially he missed like the first 3 shots in that game as well. His ability, he is also brilliant at the way he breaks down a defense. He understands game dynamics, moment to moment. I talk about situational awareness. This guy is a master at situational awareness. You constantly see him looking up at the clock. He looks at as he's bringing the ball up, looks at the clock, looks at the defense, starts formulating. Of course, he sees Thibs off the corner of his eye, but he is strategizing. How are we going to get points right now? Beautiful. I honestly, he can, in my opinion, he can be the number 1A in a championship team. That is my opinion. So I am actually going against what Becky is saying in specific to him. She's not incorrect in terms of every other year, every other time in the NBA without a guy like him. I mean, another guy like him is like Allen Iverson. And in fact, this Knicks team is starting to remind me of that Allen Iverson Sixers squad that went to the finals, where it was built around him, put some defenders around him, guys who can, get hot from time to time. Aaron McKee, who was the other guy? Eric Snow, who are like the big guys that they had on that team.
Mutombo, Theo Ratliff, Todd McCulloch, I think.
Just quality guys. Sure. Just quality guys, hard-nosed guys that know how to play winning basketball. Of course, you have to. You play for Larry Brown. You've got to play the right way. This team is starting to remind me of that team. Have you felt any of that at all?
No, I think that team was too offensively anemic for a comparison that I like. I actually
that was the era back then too.
True. I've gone a little further than you. They remind me of the Bad Boy Pistons. I think that team had a microwave off the bench like Deuce McBride. They had a pure scorer at the 2 in Joe Dumars, like Dante DiVincenzo. To me, Brunson reminds me the most of Zeke. The amount of heart that he plays with, even though he's not a great defender, he plays. He gives a great effort on defense, just like Isaiah Thomas. He's unbelievable. The ball in his hands. It's playing assists, dribbling, handle, all of those things, and do whatever it takes to win a ball game. Is Isaiah Thomas, and then you kind of have the gritty guys, the Rodmans like Precious or Bill Laimbeer, like Isaiah Hartenstein. That's my favorite comparison between them two.
I like it. I like it. The only issue I have is we don't have a Dumars type guy.
I think DiVincenzo's Dumars.
He's a good stand-in for him, but Joe Dumars. Joe Dumars was one of the most incredible two guards ever.
Yes, there's
and both sides of the ball.
Yeah,
he was a fantastic defender. So, but does at times Dante give you some of that stuff? Yeah, he does. He does. I mean, his shooting is just outstanding. But I see the correlation. I like it. We got a super chat from Buzzer Beater. He's asking, are you live streaming or watch party? That's something I've been thinking about it. I'm going to think about a way to set it up. Maybe it won't be like a full stream through the whole party. Maybe we'll come on at the end of a quarter, at the half. Get everybody to jump on the camera and stuff. We're going to do something. We're going to do something. If I can do the whole live stream from there, I'm going to try. I'm thinking about it for sure. Thanks for the super chat. Appreciate it. Again, yeah, you guys, if you're in LA or anywhere nearby, Los Angeles, come over on Sunday. It's going to be awesome. It's going to be a really good time. The owner of the bar, Steven, he's a big Knicks time fan. And actually, he grew up with Schwinny Poo. So he's one of Schwinny's best friends. And they obviously, he's a huge Knicks fan himself. So, and this might be not more than the first time. Hopefully, the next time we'll be doing it will be for the playoffs. All right, let's go to. Let's move on here. So, this is some interesting tweets. Thanks to NBA University and Knicks Muse pointing out Jalen Brunson's greatness. Here's a list of the top 10 most field goal attempts between 5 and 9 feet in the NBA. Jokic leads. Jaren Jackson Jr. is number 2, and Brunson's number 3 with 287. But look at his field goal percentage, 54%. What he's shooting. Only Vucevic, a center, Jokic, another center, and his former teammate Luka are shooting a higher percentage inside the 5 to 9 feet area. He's shooting better. Brunson's shooting better than Anthony Davis, Siakam, Fox, Adebayo, Kuzma is. How's Kuzma even on this list? He's shooting 40.9%. That's an embarrassment, Kuzma. Get it together. Same for AD, 42.9%, 5 to 9 feet. Yeah. The touch, floats, flips, pushes, short middies. Jalen Brunson. And then Knicks Muse put this out. Just 3 players in NBA history have averaged 27 plus points per game, 5 plus assists per game, 39% three-point shooting, and 150 plus three-point shots made while playing 70 plus games in a single season. Ready? Kevin Durant, MVP season. Stephen Curry, MVP season. And now the third person is Jalen Brunson, who is a legitimate MVP candidate. And I do believe, even though he has gained some steam and he wasn't even in the top 10 in Vegas odds for winning the MVP, if he had hit that game winner the other day, who knows? Right now, he could be in the serious conversation for MVP, because the truth is he should be in the serious conversation for MVP. You remove him from this team, we're talking about the lottery right now. That's just the fact. Talking about the lottery. And that's really the major determinant, in my opinion, of what an MVP is. You remove a player from a team, how does that team perform? So definitely Brunson has transformed this franchise. Completely transformed this franchise. Any thoughts you want to add on that before we move on?
I agree with everything you said. I think he's an MVP candidate as well. I would put him probably top 5 behind Shai, behind Luka, behind Jokic, maybe Giannis. I'm not sure about that. But definitely a top 5 candidate. I think there's an argument for him over some of those guys. I think Joker's pretty clear cut, in my opinion, this season.
Joker.
But look at these stats and all these miraculously situational metrics to gauge his greatness. It makes me think about that Becky Hammond comment. I think you're going to see more. I agree with her if you look at the last 30, 40 years of basketball. But I think moving forward, with the three-point shot becoming ever more important in the offense and the way that spacing is opening up on the court, I do think that that conversation is going to change, that there'll be more opportunity for smaller guards to be more dominant. You're already kind of seeing that in that top 10 list. There's 3 guards on that list, and then 2 like weenish guys in Kuzma and Siakam, and the rest are bigs. But I think you're going to see more and more parity, guards becoming some of the most dominant players in the NBA, thanks to Steph Curry revolutionizing the three-point shot.
Beautifully said. Beautifully said. The three-point shot actually does change that whole conversation. And she did try to parse it, because obviously Stephen Curry is a number one on a multi-championship team. And she said, oh, well, he's 6'3". Okay. All right. That, you want to, split hairs? Okay. All right. No. Guess what? That's very old school thinking. That's not the way of the future. And Lee pointed out perfectly, the three-point shot has made a huge change in that. But you also have to be a three level scorer. That's really what you have to be to have that kind of an impact. And Stephen Curry has that. He's got the mid-range game, obviously, and the guy can finish. He's got one of the greatest handles of all time. And so does our guy, Jalen Brunson.
Yep.
Yeah, man. Let's keep going here. So this I picked up from Tommy Beer's newsletter. And like I said before, if you don't subscribe, you definitely should support this man. He does great research and analysis. He always pulls out the best kind of, not obscure stats, but the way he looks at it he has always an interesting take on it. The one thing I wanted to point out here, he was talking about Brunson's incredible weekend. Brunson is just the 4th Knick to score 90-plus points over a 2-game span, joining Patrick Ewing, Carmelo Anthony, and Bernard King. And Brunson is the first player in franchise history with more than 90 points and more than 12 assists over a 2-game span. That's very key and very distinguishing from the other 3. Brunson logged a total of 78 minutes in those 2 contests. In the 78 minutes he was on the floor, the Knicks outscored the Thunder and Spurs / combined by 37 points.
Damn.
So we're talking about the guy who is leading now in the MVP discussion, Shai Gilgeous, and deservedly so. And I don't believe he's leading in point scoring, right? He's in the top 3, I think, 2 or 3, Shai Gilgeous.
I believe he's also leading in steals.
He's leading in steals, and OKC is number 1 in the West.
Yes.
And then the other guy is Wembanyama, who's having probably the greatest, one of the greatest rookie seasons of all time, and affirming the fact that he's a generational talent. He's going to change this team. So this is who he did this against, Brunson. In the 23 minutes Brunson spent on the bench, the Knicks were outscored by 42 points. Can you say value? He's gonna pull that up when he's gonna renegotiate his contract.
Yep,
that's a great stat right there. But let's also shout out Deuce, who's also having a career year. Several Knicks are having career years this year. Dante is one of them. Isaiah Hartenstein is another one. Brunson is one. And we got Deuce McBride. Since entering the starting lineup 7 games ago, McBride has averaged 19.1 points per game, 3.6 assists, 4 made 3-pointers, while slashing 51% field goal, 46% three-point shooting, and 93% from the free throw line. Not that he gets to the free throw line much, but still. A 50, 40, 90, that's elite numbers. Of course, it's only a 7-game span, but it just shows when you give this guy minutes and minutes. Talk about minutes. He has been playing insane amount of minutes. During this stretch, Deuce has logged a whopping 314 minutes for a 44.7 minutes per game average over those 7 games. Over the past 45 years, only 3 Knicks have logged more minutes over a 7-game span: Jamal Crawford, Latrell Sprewell, and Anthony Mason. That's the company that Deuce has reached. Shout out to him. I'm so happy for him. This guy, he's a hard worker, maintains a great attitude, and I believe he's earned the legitimate right to stay in this rotation all the way through the playoffs and next season as well, because he's signed for another, 3 years or 4 years?
Ooh. First, this is a testament to the Knicks' internal development. And I think, again, I'll say it multiple times on multiple platforms, I think Tibbs is the most underrated developer in the NBA in terms of head coaches. Guys get better every team that he's played for, and guys have gotten better specifically when they come in the Knicks. They immediately have a career year. And one guy you forgot to mention is Precious Achiuwa, who is having an unbelievable season this season and is posting staggering numbers when given opportunity when he's playing per 36.
He's been frustrating me of late, though, Precious. Yeah. But we'll get back to that. But he is having a great season.
I don't know if I would keep Deuce McBride in the lineup past the even the playoffs. It just depends who's available, right? If OG is available, maybe slide OG to the 4, Dante to 3, and Deuce to 2. But if Randall's back and OG's back, Deuce on the bench.
Oh no, I don't see him starting in the play, but I mean stay in the rotation.
Okay,
for the playoffs.
Rotation. Okay,
yeah. I didn't mean start. If I said starting, I didn't mean that. But I love what he's been doing. No, if OG comes back, Deuce is going to the bench.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. But the opportunity is there. I mean, he's kind of stepping right in that IQ role, especially now that he's hitting his 3-point shot and he's shown a little bit of a mid-range game. I mean, again, development. IQ steps out, Deuce McBride steps in that role, and he's playing it to perfection. He's guarding the other team's best player and usually producing at a pretty high clip from the 3-point line as well, which is impossible. Really hard to believe.
Yeah. One thing I didn't talk about at all was his defense in that Spurs game and the OKC game specifically. I didn't highlight it, and I really should, because I know it looked like for a while like Devin Vassell was kind of hurting the Knicks, but actually he picked up a lot of that off of Dante. And what Deuce was doing, which was really interesting, is he was constantly blitzing from the weak side, blitzing Wemby from the weak side. Or if Wemby was trying to cut around a screen, he would just kind of stand there in the way, just try to clog the lane. He was constantly like a harassment to Wemby. Now, he ended up getting his 40 points. A lot of that is overtime, but he really helped to try and, keep Wemby from going for 50, honestly. I mean, he was that effective. And same with SGA. He was the lead guard on SGA.
Talk about it.
Yeah, and he suffocated him for a long stretches of that game. We're talking about like the most lethal scoring guard other than Jalen Brunson right now, as far as I'm concerned. SGA, most efficient scoring guard. He was able to throw him off. He did hit that final shot over him, but this guy had played 45 minutes in that game. And Shea had a nice rest on the bench. It was a great matchup. I think he did a fantastic job defensively. He has totally stepped into that IQ role. The one thing is he doesn't break down defenses the way IQ does. That's something that he can keep working on. I'd like to see that in the offseason, him work on that. He needs to keep working on his handle, which has improved. That was something that kept him back last season. And the previous couple of seasons was his handle. He didn't quite have control of it. It's improved dramatically, but it needs more improvement. But I love everything he's been giving us. He is the tenacious defender he was hyped to be, that I hyped him to be coming out of college. I was a big champion of his for the Knicks to draft him. So couldn't be happier, and he needs to be shouted out. He needs to be given his flowers. Absolutely. But Brunson gets like a whole room full of roses. This guy, he is phenomenal. All right, before we move on to beginning to preview the Miami game and talk about Miami and the implications of the playoffs here, let's talk a little bit more of OG Anunoby. We talked about him early at the beginning of the live stream, but Woj, he put out a video, and it happened actually right when I was recording the video yesterday about the injuries. And here, Woj, thanks to New York Basketball, they put this out. OG Anunoby, I'm told that the Knicks, that elbow, they don't want him in and out of the lineup. They want that injury, the inflammation, irritation to go away. That when they bring him in back and he can stay back, big picture of having him healthy, ready, hopefully for the postseason. That doesn't mean he won't come back during the regular season. This is an organization right now that wants to play it safe with Anunoby. Did you hear that? Did you see that interview?
I did. I talked about that in a group chat with the KOT team. Have no issue with that. I think that's the right way to handle this situation. I think we're blessed to have a front office that doesn't put our players at harm's risk in order to get some cheap wins. Or put out bad optics just for the sake of looking like that he might come back, just to like give the fans a little salivation. I think they're handling this in the best way possible, and we have a time right now. If he doesn't play in the regular season, that doesn't make me any less concerned than I already am, because I'm pretty damn concerned about him for the long term. But right now, this season, preserve him. I think we have enough in the Nets man up roster to take care of what he brings us on a night-to-night basis to get through the last 10 games of the season. But that first round playoffs, I need him available. I need him healthy. I need him playing 30 minutes minimum.
Yeah, I agree. I think why risk it? Just let him rest that elbow until he's finally fully ready to come back and be himself. I mean, he definitely screamed when he aggravated his elbow while playing. Yes. Again, I'm confused as to how an NBA basketball player gets tennis elbow. That's from repetitive and extreme torque, and same with golf. I mean, if you've played any of those two sports, you understand the burden, the strain that you put on your elbow joints is severe. So you don't do that in basketball. So I don't know how it happened. When I say that, I'm actually doubting that that's the injury. Sorry, guys. I'm doubting that it is. They're just picking that and putting it out there. It could be the surgery. They screwed up on it. They overlooked something in there. They may have nicked a tendon or something, ruptured a tendon, or something else has happened during this procedure, or maybe even the rehab. So, and I just don't trust, unfortunately, even though I agree with the notion of resting him and not rushing him back, I am suspicious of what the Knicks say about players' injuries now. Sorry. Just they earned that from me.
I agree.
Yeah. All right. Here's one thing I want to talk about, because it's become a very important thing right now, especially in light of the reality that we may not get those two guys back. We may not. There's a chance. It's a chance, as you guys all heard Josh Hart talking, and that was more of his mentality, his mindset, but it's also a possibility that the team that is available for tonight is the team that we're going to have in the playoffs. There's a chance. If that is a chance, what the fuck, Bojan? What the fuck, Alec Burks? Come on. Isn't this a dream situation for guys like them? Journeymen. Let's just call them journeymen at this point. In their 30s, they've made some good money. This is it. You have a chance to contribute to a team making a deep run in the playoffs. Where's your desire to be great? You guys are just sleepwalking out there, taking terrible shots, like ill-conceived shots. I forgot who tweeted it out, but Burks, I think it was Schwinney. Burks has made the least amount of passes. He has like the lowest assist percentage of anybody and his usage rate is incredibly high. When he drives, he never passes it out. He forces the shot. He thinks that's the play. All right, so I vented a little bit about it, but what are the chances? I mean, what can we really legitimately expect from these two guys moving forward?
Oh man, I have been holding this L, dude. I was, I don't know if you remember, I was like on the Bojan. I was bringing Bojan.
I know you were very positive Bojan.
I wanted Bojan. I wanted Bojan back in December of last year, but this season, I've always liked this game. I love how gritty. He's a Euro. He doesn't play great defense, but he always tried on defense. And he was just a gritty player. I like how physical he was, how he took on defensive assignments when it was post up down the perimeter, and how he liked to drive the basket. He would get fouled. I seen him make shots with Utah, saw him make shots with Indiana. I was like, damn, man, this guy's a sniper. Bring him here. Let's ball out. And it's been absolute ass on both sides. That's a shocking part. He's been ass from three, and a lot of his shots have been wide open thanks to Jalen Brunson taking elbows and knees and gut checks on his way to the basket, drawing his defender out. Bojan catches and throws up a fucking brick. I'd say him and Burks both have been the bodega bums, man. I'm close.
The Motown bums.
I'm close.
Motown bums.
to reaching my threshold of like, fuck these guys. And I have, again, if I do that, I'm totally saying this is one of my worst L's of my New York Knicks life, because I went on SNY and said we're one Alec Burks trade away from winning a championship, and this is Alec Burks, man. This is the Alec Burks experience. It's a B movie, and I'm sick and tired of watching it. So they have like 2 games until I'm off the train. I'm just going to see this trade as a salary dump, and we lost out on Grimes, and it was an L, and move forward.
It's surprising because these 2 guys were having tremendous seasons, not tremendous Januaries before they were traded to the Knicks. In fact, I'm going to pull up those stats. You guys keep talking. You keep talking while I pull these up here. Yeah, let me pull this up because they were having amazing seasons, amazing Januaries before they came to the Knicks.
Yeah.
All right. So, oh my God. Let me pull this up here. Yeah, it's incredibly frustrating. I want to hear from the chat. Do you guys believe at all that these 2 guys can get it together and become consistent contributors, consistent winning players right now off the bench? Like, I'm struggling to even. I think, like, let's say a game like tonight. Game like tonight is a perfect game for these 2 guys to come out. You know, Bojan gives us 20, Burks gives us 19, and suddenly we're all like, wow, you know, like this is like the kind of game that they should step up like that. And we've been waiting for that. Bojan, I think, has had a couple of 19-point games for us, maybe even one 20-point game one, and Burks, I think, has had 1 or 2 good games. But really, they played for us for like 20 games now. That's it. We're talking about less than a handful of games, or a handful of games between the 2 of them that have had any significance and contributed to winning.
Listen, George, I think it's even beyond that. If you remember that Miami Heat series last year, Eric Spoelstra dared Obi Toppin to shoot. He left Obi Toppin wide open on the perimeter every time he caught it. They were willing to live with an occasional Obi Toppin made 3. Guarantee you see that for both Bojan and Alec Bum Burks tonight. Eric Spoelstra's going to leave them both wide open and say, that's how we lose. That's how we lose. But I don't trust either of y'all to make that 3. And they both better damn well.
Well, if they're on the court with Brunson or Dante, yeah, I could see them leaving them open. But if they're in that second unit, I guess they could leave them open. But
Tibbs has been running Brunson with that second unit, so I think they'll be out there with them regardless.
All right, the month of January before the trade, this is what Bojan was doing. He was playing 32 minutes a game. He was averaging 21 points. He was shooting 47.5% overall. From the 3-point line, he was shooting 45.8%. Almost 46% from the 3-point line on 7.5 field goal attempts per game, 3-point attempts. That's not bullshit. That's 13 games he did that. Burks was only playing 25 minutes a night. He was averaging 17.4 points per game in January. This is why they made the trade.
Yep.
He was shooting 40, even better than Bojan from the 3-point line. 46.3% on 7.2 3-point attempts per game. Those are elite numbers, shooting 90% from the free throw line. He's still shooting well from the free throw line. But that's the kind of offensive firepower that we desperately need and have to get from them, because defensively, Burks, he's nowhere near as bad as Bojan, but he's definitely not the defender he was when he was with the Knicks, his 1.0 version here. He's totally a different player now. He's lost to more. I think he's lost a full step. His verticality has taken a hit. And I think he got into some bad habits defensively and stuff as well. But he just hasn't been. He's just a shell of his former self. It's crazy.
Yeah, agreed. And I think the thing that I was thinking about is that this wasn't like the only team they've ever played for is Detroit. These are both journeymen, guys that have played for many different teams beforehand. I think Burks had played for about 5 teams before he came back to the Knicks, and Bojan played for about 3, I believe, including Indiana. So these are guys who, throughout the career, you saw them give effort, have moments where they had peaks. Like that Detroit year wasn't even their best year, as elite as it was. Burks was probably the best with New York, and Bojan was the best with Utah, where he was, as their power forward. So it was shocking that they came to New York still entrenched in the bad habits and bad losing mentality of the Pistons. I guess that's how rough that stench is. It's really hard to wash it off once you're in it.
It shows. Just shows. Look, Bogdanovich, since he's come to the Knicks, he's played 21 games, averaged 20 minutes a game. He's giving us 10 points a game on 35.1% three-point shooting.
Yuck.
That's 10% lower. But what's even more concerning is the overall field goal percentage. He's shooting 40.6%. That's pure trash, pure garbage.
Pure.
And then you think that's bad, right? Then you look at Alec Burks. He is shooting 30.4% in his 19 games as a Knick. 30%. I can shoot 30% from the three-point line. He's shooting 31.6% overall. These guys are basically, you know what? I think our lead is a little too big. Let's get Bojan and Burks in there, trying to even this game out a little bit. Let's give the opponent a chance. I think coaches start salivate when they see those two guys start checking in. Oh man. And you're right in terms of Bojan has had some wide open looks, but he's also taken some forced shots as well. And I think that fucks his rhythm up. Something's going on. Something's going on with that. I'm completely flabbergasted. Now, I mean, there is a chance that they kind of break out of this. They have 8 games left to earn playoff minutes. I mean, if I were them, if I had pride in myself as an NBA player, this team is going to the playoffs. I would do everything I can to prove to the coach and the team and the fans and the NBA that I deserve minutes, playoff minutes, that I deserve them. Not just because we're, shallow, we have injuries. No, I want to earn them. I want to earn those minutes. They have 8 games left to do it.
I have bad news. Neither Burks nor Bogey will be in the playoff rotation at all. I don't think there's any chance in hell it happens. I'm even doubtful even if Randall is not back. I don't think they're in the playoff rotation because Tom Thibodeau prioritizes defense. Since his Chicago days, that's what he cares about, and he will sacrifice the potential for an offensive output for consistent defense. I think it's more likely a Sims is in a playoff rotation than a Bojan. I think that chance is gone. What we need from these two guys is help us sustain a top 4 seeding going into the playoffs rather than turn on somebody they can be magical or some better version of themselves in the postseason. That's gone. Tom Thibodeau is not going to sacrifice defense and have a Bojan or Burks out there guarding a pick and roll in order just for occasional.
Oh, that's distressing. Well, here we are. The game's going to start soon, so we're going to run through this pretty quick. The Knicks are 44-30. They're the 4th seed. They could have been the 3rd seed by themselves. Could have been 45-29. Miami's right there. Miami's trying to get out of the play-in. They're only 1 game behind the Pacers, and I do believe they play the Pacers coming up. So these are big games for Miami. They have tremendous implications. If the Knicks are able to get back into 3rd and Miami keeps their role, I think they've won 3 out of the last 4 games. If they're able to get into 6th seed, the Knicks would face them in the first round of the playoffs. The Knicks, these are the last 2 games the Knicks have faced them. They've won both of them. Unfortunately, the January 27th game has a bitter taste in our mouths because that's when Julius got hurt, and apparently that's also when OG got hurt. But let's keep moving here. Here are the comps. The Knicks are averaging 112.6 points per game. That's almost 3 points more than the Heat. They're out rebounding the Heat as a team. The assists, they get more assists. They get 25.7. We're at 24.2. The steals are pretty even. We average more blocks, 4.1 to their 3.4. The turnovers are good. That both teams don't turn the ball over much, though they are beating us in that stat as well. The overall field goal percentage is almost identical, 46.3 for the Knicks, 46.4 for the Heat. And three-point shooting, they are at 37%. We're at 36.5%, but I believe we shoot at a much higher volume, which was what accounts to the higher scoring average. The free throws, they've always been a good free throw shooting team, 81.3% as a team. We're averaging 78. The points in the paint, we are actually better than them in points in the paint, 48.8%, thanks to Mr. Brunson.
Hell yeah.
Second chance points, we crushed them on that. We get 16.5 second chance points per game compared to Miami 11.6. I'm not sure how we rank in terms of the overall NBA, but we have to be up in the top 5, I believe, somewhere up there. Fast break points, we also, we get out on transition thanks to Josh Hart, the one-man transition. Hopefully he'll be able to do that. That was one of the things that frustrated him in the previous 2 games. He wasn't able to get out there and do that, especially against the Spurs. He was hesitant because of the Wembanyama factor. Bam is leading in blocks, leading the Heat in blocks, and Isaiah's averaging 1.12 per game. I think that's in the top 10, I believe. In terms of points scored, obviously Brunson is the leading scorer right here, almost 28 points per game. And in rebounds, Isaiah Hartenstein is averaging 8.4. Bam is averaging 10.7, which is in the top 10. There we go. What is your prediction for tonight's game, Mr. Lee Escobedo?
Well, since I bombed the hell out of my last prediction, I'm going to go.
Me too.
I'm going to say Knicks 99, Heat 95.
Knicks 99, Heat 95. So a nice, tight, close game. The Knicks eke it out by 4 points. I'm good with that. I also wouldn't. I know that the Heat are, thing is, they're missing guys. They're missing Hero, Duncan, and who's the third guy? Forgot who the third guy is, but they're missing some key players. Bam is a problem, but we have guys who can neutralize him. Jimmy is definitely a problem. Hart is going to be on him a lot, but I don't think they don't have guys who can slow down Brunson. No. So I could easily see Brunson get 45 tonight, and the Knicks could win this by 15. It could be like that. They just won't have enough firepower. I also think those 2 losses. I did hear. I think it was Brian Windhorst in his podcast, The Hoop Collective, did say he was in San Antonio for that game that the Knicks played against them. And he said in the locker room, the players were very bummed. They were a depressed locker room after that loss. So I'm sure after compound that with the OKC loss, I think these guys are going to be amped up to come out and just inflict some pain on an opponent. It seems like it's trending in that direction. Let's see if they can actually execute it. All right. We got through the show. Thanks to everybody for watching this. Again, my name is George. This is Lee. Please subscribe to Into the Knicks-Verse and share any of my videos. Share this video. Would appreciate that. Hit the thumbs up button for me. It helps grow the channel. And drop your comments if you're watching this later on. Definitely any thoughts you have or whatever, come and drop it. I try to read every comment. And follow Lee on Twitter. And check out the post-game show, The Nick of Time. It's a live show that they put on after every game with Jay Ellis and Ryan G. And I got blank on her name. Ebony.
Rookie of the year.
Ebony. Yeah. It's a great show. And of course, I will be doing a recap after the game. I do after every game almost. So check those out. Sometimes I'm a little heated.
Aren't we all sometimes?
sometimes a little bit. All right. I believe the game is about to start, so I'll let you guys go. Thank you so much for watching this, and we will see you around.